intentional infliction of or threatened infliction of physical injury. So at the very least, the jury has to make a finding as to dangerousness.
I agree about dangerousness. I guess the question is, why does the state want to prove up aggravators if the jury finds the defendant guilty of the charge as a dangerous offense, given the sentence?
Your Honor, in all honesty, you could ask me this, 10 years ago before Blakely was put out. As case law changes on appeals, I've had to come back before and redo a penalty phase, an aggravation phase, and re-impanel a jury. So I prefer to, since we're already going to have an aggravation phase for the dangerous allegation, to add on the other factors, and therefore I don't have to ever worry about this coming back on appeal later.
All right.
How is it not already found to be dangerous? You just said that if they find me guilty, then it will be dangerous.
I didn't say that. I said if they find you guilty, then they make a determination whether or not it's dangerous. Now, I think what I meant was when a crime involving a weapon is used, whether it's a gun, usually it's sort of a foregone conclusion that if the jury found you guilty of conspiracy to commit first-degree murder by someone shooting at another individual, that they're 99.9% likely to find that it was a dangerous offense. But it's something the jury has to do.
Right, but usually aren't aggravators for sentencing? What other purpose does it serve? In this case, with this charge, with one statute, you can't give me less time, you can't give me more time, you can't do anything else except for, it's one statute.
I guess the prosecutor's saying she wants to cover her bases in case there's some change in the law. And
I can't believe you're doing this.
For purposes of sentencing.
They should make it, I don't know why they do this. They should make her do her time for the murder charges and then get back to this later on. I mean, we're going to do another trial for another case. It's crazy,
She's doing
man.
life. She's fucked.
She's already doing life in prison. That's it. She got life in prison.
How you doing, Hong Kong?
And they have the right to proceed with aggravators.
Crazy.
Right. You're right in that if you're found guilty of this charge at this level, you get one sentence. But who knows what a court of appeals would do in the future if aggravators or things weren't presented. I don't know what would be presented at a sentencing phase from your side or from the state's side, but it sounds like the prosecutor's wanting to cover her bases.
So then I'm not entitled to a hearing before trial starts to find probable cause for these aggravators that were not taken to the grand jury initially?
All right,
I'm asking.
I'm trying to explain it to you. The jury did find probable cause that this was a dangerous offense. It's included in your indictment. So they did find.
They didn't find these specific aggravators. Being a dangerous offense and these specific aggravators
what I said,
are different.
What I was saying, right? I didn't interrupt you. Can I finish? Okay.
I'm listening
to the jury
some
did find probable cause on the dangerous allegation.
Lori Daybell.
Right. You're not entitled to a probable cause hearing on the other aggravators.
When is conspiracy to commit murder not a dangerous crime?
You all got 25 people here. I'm surprised.
When someone says they're going to choke someone to death and they don't actually do it, it's not a dangerous crime.
So
no dangerous instrument or deadly weapon was used.
So because some instrument may or may not have been used in this crime, it's considered a dangerous crime?
I'm considering.
And these aggravators that talk about something totally different
in the hospital after
don't have to be found after that it's found a dangerous crime?
I hope you recover, bro.
And that is supported by case law?
Yes.
Let me lower the volume
so that what? When you go to appeal, you can't say it was a non-dangerous crime?
All right. I don't know what to tell you, all right? There was a case that came out about 15 to 20 years ago now called Blakely that said a jury had to determine aggravating
Most likely I'm gonna need
a
back surgery. It's not looking well.
The reason it's not done in the guilt phase is we don't want the jury to confuse the issues. We want the jury to decide first whether someone's guilty or not guilty, whether the state has proved its burden beyond a reasonable doubt. We don't want them to start thinking about other things like aggravators if they have questions about whether or not the person's even guilty. It tends to confuse the jury and confuse the issues for them. So that's why we do the aggravators in a separate hearing.
Hit that like button. Don't forget to subscribe as well.
But these specific aggravators that they allege, right, the ones that you just went over.
My upper back hurts today.
You're saying that now after you're found guilty
of
a dangerous crime,
no.
that they're going to go back in. What is the purpose of that? How does it change anything after that?
I don't know how else to explain it to you. So do you have other issues that you want to bring up today?
Yes, but I would like to finish this first. So are you denying my motion to have a hearing on this?
I'm denying your motion to have a probable cause hearing as to the state's alleged aggravators.
Okay, so you're denying my motion to have a 13.5 hearing on these alleged aggravators.
Correct.
Before trial starts.
Because you're not entitled to one.
I'm close to 35 years old.
13.5 says that you're entitled to a probable cause hearing if they amend or change the indictment.
This is not an amendment of the indictment?
It's not. There's a difference.
It's an extension of the indictment. It's not in the indictment.
It's a difference, okay, between an aggravator and changing the charge that you're charged with. Changing the charge that you're charged with is an amendment to the indictment.
She doesn't understand the law.
example, if you were just charged with
That's why you
conspiracy to
cannot be
commit
your
first-degree
own
murder,
lawyer.
all right?
Because
The state
if
didn't
you don't
allege with grand
understand
jury
the
that was
law,
wrong,
entitled.
you'd be entitled to probable cause hearing.
how you gonna
allegation because
be
it's
your own
changing the
lawyer?
charge and it's changing the sentence that you would be getting.
Not entitled.
These
But that's
aggravators-
exactly my point. How, after the fact, these aggravators, if they are found, what do they do to change the charge or change the sentence
my
or
God.
change anything?
Probably nothing in reality. You just said it. They don't change the charge, so you're not entitled to an probable cause hearing.
Okay, then I don't want to have an aggravation phase either.
Well, you can.
Are you entitled to that? And I'm not entitled to a hearing on probable cause, but you're entitled to have an aggravation phase.
Well, if you don't want to attend, you don't have to attend.
You don't want to attend. You don't have to attend.
I hate this lady.
I hate her too. She's a bitch.
Something dealing with trial is that I've asked several times for headsets for my advisory council. I know that's been an issue that you said we can only have 5 headsets. Is there some way we can do that? Because it's very difficult for them to advise me on things when they kind of don't know what's going on.
If you need a break to consult with your advisory council, we can do that. I can only give so many headsets.
You said you were going to check into that. Is that something that
They
you did
said
check
they-
into and
they
there's no
can't
more
do-
available headsets?
They can't do more than 5 on that particular system or network that they have. I need my court reporter to have one,
boy,
so we can do
this
the
bitch is crazy.
sidebars. The state's only getting 1. I get 1, so that leaves 2 for you. Whoever you want to have beside yourself, you can choose one of your advisory council or your paralegal.
You're forcing me to choose between the people that are helping me?
Sure.
Ooh.
Okay.
Technically, I don't know I even have to do that. You represent yourself. You're considered your own attorney. You don't even have the right, the right to consult. I shouldn't say that. You have the right to consult with them, but it's not a necessary thing because you are acting as your own attorney. You're expected to proceed as your own attorney. They don't have an affirmative duty to even give you advice under the case law for being an advisory council. The fact that they do is probably helpful to you.
Yeah.
Okay, but you chose to represent yourself. That means you are supposed to act as your own lawyer.
Yep.
You appointed them and assigned them to me. I did not ask for them.
Okay, yeah, I did, in case you decided not to represent yourself so they could step in at trial.
Okay, well then is an alternative that we could do sidebars at the bench so that they could be involved during
I
that
think it
time.
depends on the complexity of the question. If it's a simple jury question that, like, for example, can we have a copy of the police report? The answer to that is always no. So I think I'll have to take it on a question by question and issue by issue basis. So if it's an issue where we need everyone at the bench, yes, we can do that. But if it's a simple, quick response that we can do with the headsets, we'll do that.
Okay,
How long was the surgery?
I have one more issue.
Go ahead.
Okay.
You still going to prison for life?
Seeing as how things went in the last trial, my question is,
A lot of issues.
what does the state intend to bring in from Idaho so that I can prepare my questions without being accused by you of opening the door? How can we avoid that when almost every witness has testified in my Idaho trial? And I don't want to be responsible for doing that. So how are we going to handle that?
Well, I will tell the prosecutor to make sure a caution is given to each witness that no matter what the question is, that witness should not think it's a question that would require an answer about prior testimony or prior proceedings. State agrees, right?
2 hours, that's not bad.
I guess they can be further advised that if they think you or the state is asking a question that calls for that sort of answer about prior testimony or prior proceedings.
Guys,
that
don't
maybe we
forget
should
to
take care.
like.
Okay.
Hit that like button
Anything else?
That was it.
and subscribe if you're
Alright,
not
let's get
subscribed already. This girl will be a problem.
Okay, so I'm being informed that the jury commissioner said if the parties stipulate
Thank
to
you, I
not
appreciate it.
bringing in any jurors tomorrow, we can do that. Remember last time, though, we screened whatever number we had. A few of those people didn't show up, even though they were informed they needed to show up. So we have 66. I think because it's a shorter trial, we don't necessarily need 4 alternates, but maybe we should just in case. I don't know.
Judge, I would still want 4, given that we lost
We
2 in the first 2 days.
We did.
I don't want to waive any appeal issue that
All right. That's kind of boring, but all right, that was that. I just wanted to see what was going on there. Are you guys interested in watching that trial?
Yes.
Like, how do we? I don't know. We don't have to. We don't have time. It may start next week. That trial, the Lori Daybell, the new trial for something else that she did. Are you guys interested in that or not really? Or maybe we can browse through it and do a quick search or a quick look at it. I don't know.
Interested.
We'll see what happens, right? Just the sentencing part? Yeah. All we need is, yeah, you're right. Just the sentencing part. We don't need to see the trial.
Oh.
Yeah, I'm going to do Sade Robinson now, Karen Lee. I'm going to do a quick video with Sade now.
Oh, boy.
Or should I do Donald Trump first? Or P. Diddy. Let me do P. Diddy first.
P. Diddy is a scumbag.
Let me see what's going on with P. Diddy, and then I'll get into Sade, and then I'll get into Karen Reed. I'm trying to do a little bit of everything, you know, every night now. So there's a lot going on right now. There's a lot going on in the world. So just doing our best to get in there, you know. So let's watch this video here. I got this video called Breaking News. Donald Trump asked if he'll pardon Sean Diddy Combs. And this is about also P. Diddy. So let's see what happens with P. Diddy, and let's see what happens with Trump.
Oh boy, he better not.
Sounds good, Rich. All right, thank you.
Get all of the latest on what happened today in the courtroom for Sean Diddy Combs' federal sex trafficking and racketeering trial. We've been relying so heavily on our colleagues at Fox 5 New York to help us tell this story, and Fox 5's Richard Giacobis, reporter there, joins me outside the courthouse with the latest. Richard, so good to see you here. If you could, get us up to speed. What took place today?
This is a 5-minute video. Then I have a one-on-one with TMZ after this.
So for him to get pardoned, he has to get convicted.
You know, the drama and the twists and turns, Andrew, they never seem to end. Week 3 of testimony in this sex trafficking and racketeering trial against Sean Diddy Combs is now in the books with his former personal assistant, one of them, under the pseudonym Mia, going under cross-examination for the first time in her testimony, her second day on the stand. And while she was on the stand, she says that her trauma brain often wins over her logic brain. The former female assistant testifying, claiming she was physically and sexually abused by Combs. Today, Mia answered questions as to why she worked for Combs for so long and why she did things like make scrapbooks for his birthday, despite the alleged abuse. Mia saying, quote, "I was young and manipulated and eager to survive. I'm unraveling a lot of this now in therapy," she went on to say. She also said she thought making Combs a scrapbook would make him happy. The assistant also worked under Combs for 8 years, testifying she was sexually assaulted by the rapper just a few months into her employment and multiple times throughout the years she worked for him. The defense attorney suggesting at least 3 times today that Mia was making up the sexual assault allegations.
Smash that like button, guys. If you're here, smash that like button, please.
Her, quote, "Mr. Combs never had unwanted, non-consensual, forcible sexual contact with you. Isn't that true?" Mia answers, "What I said in this courtroom is true. I have not lied to anyone at all." Mia will be back on the stand for more cross-examination on Monday morning. Meanwhile, President Donald Trump making headlines outside of the courtroom, being asked for the first time about this trial from a reporter in the Oval Office. The president responding to a question that was posed to him on whether he would pardon Sean Diddy Combs if he was convicted of a federal crime. The president responding and saying he'd have to look at the facts.
Oh my God.
That does it from here from Lower Manhattan, the federal courthouse.
I would have to look at the facts. Oh my, if he gets arrested and put in jail for 30 years and Donald Trump pardons this guy, oh my God. I will freak out.
On another week of testimony that is now wrapped up. Andrew, we'll send it back to you.
Yeah, Richard, we're about to play some of that sound in the Oval Office today. That question was asked by our colleague, Fox's Peter Ducey. Though, what is going on next when they get back to court on Monday? Who are going to be the witnesses next week? Do we know?
You know, we're not sure of the way. Well, we know that Mia will be back on the stand on Monday. She has to finish up her cross-examination, and then the prosecution will have to call more witnesses. We believe more personal assistants will be called. Again, this is only week 3, and the prosecution, I believe, has at least another 3 to 4 weeks of witnesses. So there's a lot more to come out of this.
Jacob, it's always good to see you. Great reporting. We'll talk soon. Thanks so much. Have a good weekend.
Thanks, Andrew. You too.
Right. In the meantime here, like we promised, if you didn't catch this live in the Oval Office today, our colleague Fox's Peter Doocy asked President Trump, sitting behind the Resolute desk there in the Oval, whether or not he would consider a pardon if Diddy were to be convicted here. This was his answer. Let's listen.
But back when you hosted The Apprentice, you mentioned once in 2012 that Diddy was a good friend of yours back then. He has since found himself in some very serious legal trouble.
Yeah, that's true.
Would you ever consider pardoning him?
Well, nobody's asked. You had to be the one to ask, Peter, but nobody's asked. But I know people are thinking about it. I know they're thinking about it. I think some people have been very close to asking. First of all, I'd look at what's happening, and I haven't been watching it too closely, although it's certainly getting a lot of coverage. I haven't seen him. I haven't spoken to him in years. He used to really like me a lot, but I think when I ran for politics, he sort of, that relationship busted up from what I read. I don't know. He didn't tell me that, but I'd read some little bit nasty statements in the paper all of a sudden. You know, it's different. You become a much different person when you run for politics and you do what's right. I could do other things, and I'm sure he'd like me, and I'm sure other people would like me, but it wouldn't be as good for our country. As we said, our country's doing really well because of what we're doing. So it's not a popularity contest. So I don't know. I would certainly look at the facts. If I think somebody was mistreated, whether they like me or don't like me, it wouldn't have any impact on me.
Okay, so wanted to let you listen to that exchange there. That was asked by Peter Doocy, and whether or not the president would consider a pardon of Sean Diddy Combs, with the caveat, of course, if he were to be convicted here. He essentially said he hasn't really thought about it. He's got to see the facts, but he didn't rule it out. All right. In the meantime, still so many of these kind of gloomy live vantage points over the Big Apple. Still so much more to get to this hour.
There you go. You never know what's going to happen. P. Diddy gets pardoned by Donald Trump. Oh, my God. That would be... Oh, my God. If that happened, I would be upset. Because he did a lot of bad things to women. And he did a lot of bad things to people. He treated a lot of people wrongly. And he's only human, just like us. So, you know, I don't think he should get pardoned. But if he does, that would be crazy. Andy Mia, how you doing? Welcome back to America, Andy Mia. How are you? I don't believe that is within reality. People really don't know this wonderful president. Huh? What are you talking about, Dr. Eve? He said he looked at the facts. The facts are bad. Oh, well. If he looks at the facts, then he won't pardon him. That's all I gotta say. If he goes with the facts of this case, he will not pardon him.
I wouldn't.
Sonia Grasky, how you doing, Sonia Grasky? Long time no see. How are you? I've seen images with orange face with Diddy. Oop.
I'm in pain watching true crime.
Let's take a quick commercial.
All right. So that's that video. Now we're gonna watch a video with Donald Trump pardoning P. Diddy. I want to see what the TMZ guys do. I want to see what P. Diddy, what TMZ has to say about P. Diddy and Donald Trump pardoning Diddy.
That's not gonna happen.
Eventually, or maybe.
Donald Trump could pardon Diddy if Diddy gets convicted. And I'm not just saying it. Donald Trump said it today. And it's both stunning and in a way predictable. And I want to talk about this because I am fascinated by what is going on in Donald Trump's world.
Than rape.
And, you know...
Andy, why did your son laugh listening to me? How you doing, son?
I just finished doing our podcast, Two Angry Men, with Mark Garagos, who is my co-host on the show, on the podcast, whose daughter, Tenny Garagos, is one of Diddy's defense lawyers. Mark is not allowed to really speak about the case because of this gag order, which I think is frankly unconstitutional. That's another story. But Joe Tacopina, an incredible defense lawyer, joined us, and we talked about this. Joe Tacopina represented Donald Trump in the sexual assault trial with Ms. Carroll.
Guys, I'll be back in a few. Thank you for
I gotta
joining us.
say, he made some points that